Welcome to the Fit Affiliate Podcast, where with honesty and transparency, we talk about all things fitness, coaching, and gym ownership, so that you can feel less crazy and frustrated and alone, while you also find more freedom and make more money.
And welcome back to another awesome episode of the Fit Affiliate Podcast. How are you going, guys? Chuck and Tony with us today?
Always
Chuck
good.
can answer first. Good
as a choice. Choosing to be good despite whatever life may have.
I think this is episode 13. So everything is good because I'm happy we've made it this far.
That's right. It's our lucky number. So today I thought a really good topic, because it seems to be rumbling around a few circles, is about, and we've talked about it or mentioned it on previous podcasts, is weaponizing your team. So I thought we might talk a little bit deeper on that. Is like, for an affiliate owner, why is it important to weaponize your team? What does it mean? And what are some steps they can take to do that, to have some profound impact on not only their business, but their lives? So it's a big one today.
Because how insignificant and minuscule would CrossFit be if all it ever was Greg and Lauren in Santa Cruz by themselves?
Yep. Good episode.
All right, we're done here.
Well, and I think that I don't know, that's why we bring that up with clients so early on. That's why we have people, read The Magic of Thinking Big, because at some point, it can't be you. It's not fucking possible. And even if somehow it was possible, that would be to the detriment of anybody else and everyone else involved, because then if you couldn't do the thing, it collapses for everybody involved. So it is a necessity to build a team in order to accomplish the mission in the first place, but also to build some safety and redundancy that for the people who we are accomplishing the mission, their lives can go on and be safeguarded. The test of if you got hit by a bus, how much longer would your gym run? That's the first time most people think oh, well, not for a long time. And they're really entrenched and deeply involved in the client's success stories for the people that they have in their gym. And you're right. So you agree that there are people in your gym right now that if they don't have this thing, they will relapse. They will go back into abusive relationships. They will lose, whatever it is that CrossFit, the community, health, wellness, fitness, whatever that thing is that has resolved some amount of pain in their life to put them in a better place. They need the safety net of that business being solvent and have people that are able to carry the torch and the sword forward. Otherwise, the whole thing's a fucking house of cards.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
I'm not sure what the original question you asked was, but thanks for coming to my test. Tony, it's your turn.
Essentially, the original question was it boiled down to why you really even need a team, right? And why and how you weaponize that team. And so I think that, rather than how do I weaponize the team, it goes back to why I need to weaponize the team, right? Or really, why do I need to have a team at all? Because let's be honest, the affiliate universe problem with staff development, so to speak, is that they want it to be okay, that they don't need them, right? Because inevitably we all end up at this realization that the worst part of being in business is employees, right? You hear it all the time, right? All the time. Yeah. The worst part is when you got to deal with people. And at that exact moment, you're already screwed, right? Because you have to understand, it's not about why do I need a team, a unified team, a weaponized team. It's why you don't have one. That's the question, right? And because if a CrossFit gym even haphazardly or accidentally has any degree of idea of what they're doing, it's almost impossible to not have people who rally behind it. So it shouldn't be for a lack of following, but yet it remains to be seen that it is, right? So then that question goes a little bit further than that. So if why I don't have a team is the question, then the big question beyond that is, why do you exist, right? As a business, right? The point of businesses existing, period, all of them, full stop, is that they are meant to improve the quality of life of the business owner. All other altruism aside and charitable notions, like, you would not open your business if there wasn't some degree of implication or opportunity or hope that it was going to somehow benefit Lisa's life, right? Like, period. Right? And so that unified truth exists in pretty much every business, from Fortune 500 company all the way down. The reality of the situation, of course, is that very few affiliates are actually objectively improving the quality of life of the business owner. And instead, they're doing quite the opposite. So the choice of weaponizing your team isn't an option, it's a necessity, right? Because like, if it's not improving your quality of life, it's objectively detracting from it, and that can't stay. For the same reason why, like, if something is removing markers from your health on your wellness continuum, you would stop doing that. It's the same thing that happens there. But the best part about being in business really is that business, when done correctly, massively improves your quality of life, unlike anything else on the planet, investments or otherwise. But inside that same conversation is it's also in its ability to massively improve the quality of life of other people. And so, no doubt about it, until you understand teams, they can certainly be your biggest nuisance. But as soon as you understand teams, I'm telling you right now, the coolest part about being in business is hiring people, signing their paychecks, and creating those futures. Because not only is your business, your creation, your why, your vision, your values, improving your life, when you get to put food on other people's table, you know, they're paying their mortgages and they're doing all those things, that feels amazing. But that doesn't exist in most affiliates. And so until then, they want there to be an excuse. And that's why I don't have a team yet.
Like, is it, it's a fun thing to talk about, because like, it's definitely a thing that, me personally, like, realized too late in the game. But it's super cool when your clients win, right? Like, you love it when people hit PRs and firsts, and like, you can still have that same feeling and those same moments of success, and honestly a more substantial way, with like your staff and your team. Like, we've got one client who just had 2 coaches buy homes. Like, that's fucking incredible. There's not a lot of people that coach in gyms in any capacity as employees that have the ability to purchase homes. Like, that's fucking special. That's a cool thing to be a part of. Got another client that, for their class coaches make $75 a class. That's an incredible thing to be able to do, because you've got world-class coaches inside of your gym. Ergo, you have a world-class gym. But you can't build a world-class gym on your own. And so if it is just an island of one, like Gilligan's Island, right? Like, it's not in anybody's best interest. It detriments the owner, it detriments the community, and it detriments the clients themselves.
Do you think that, and I know this from experience, that when affiliates open and you're shiny and new, and then you're running everything, you think, I need some help. So you start building a team just to give you some help on the floor. So you don't have to coach every class. You don't have to be at every 5 a.m. or whatever. And then by the time you've got a few coaches, suddenly you go, oh crap, I've got a team. Now I need to lead these people. And it's kind of reverse, doing it from reverse, not building a team with the intention of, having it weaponized from day dot, but it's like, oh, suddenly I've got 7 people that I've got to pay. I've got to make sure they're all doing the right things. And it's kind of gets a little bit big at that point, and you've then kind of got to work backwards. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is pretty much everybody's process, right? Because like, you could do it very, very differently. Like, but I would venture to guess that if you did it all over again and you opened a new gym tomorrow, you would approach handling your team in a different way.
Totally.
What are the things that you would do differently with a new team that you could do with the current team starting tomorrow, if you stepped away from, like, ego, insecurity, dogma, and just like what had existed historically. And I think like that's the lost opportunity of the affiliate model and business period, is that like so long as it's your thing, you can change whatever you want whenever you want within like a handful of pieces of like logistical necessity and government regulation. And so I think, yeah, like for a lot of affiliate owners, they'd be well served to formally fire all of their coaches, but then also formally rehire all of their coaches like within the same meeting. Hey Tony, need to have you come into my office for a little bit. We gotta talk. Unfortunately, Tony, like I'm gonna have to let you go. Here's all the reasons it's not working out. But here's the good news. I want to offer you your job back. But here's how it would need to go. And like you just, we all lose sight of the ability, like you could do that at any given time. And honestly, it's enough of a significant milestone moment that for a lot of people, like just resetting better expectations, roles, responsibilities, and boundaries, that is the issue that stops them from having like a team that is able to weaponize. And we get caught up in our feels because a thing has been the way it is for so long that it's hard to even see that the thing that exists could be totally different without having to be a totally separate new thing.
Yep. I mean, trauma begets trauma, right? I mean, you know this through the work that you do with your mindset course. And so, it takes a lot of work. It's a lot of dirt to move in that pile from a traumatic experience. And so I think we can all agree on almost one thing universally to the journey of every affiliate owner. None of you started right? Like, I mean, and you didn't do it out of a necessity. I mean, you probably tried to start right and you did what you thought you could do. And it doesn't take very long before you get into it and you're like, I fucked up, right? And that inevitably happens. But then from that point forward, one thing leads to another leads to another. And then you got a lot of circumstances that lead to you basically having trust issues as it applies to developing, hiring, and whatever. And so staff just becomes another part of that same complicated conversation, right? And so in order for you to, I've never met an affiliate owner who wouldn't love to have six-figure coaches in the gym, right? It's this thing that obviously exists in the space, and universally they want to have it. But like, I've also not met many affiliate owners who actually believe in it, because like the number of affiliate owners I've met that make six figures is relatively small. So for them, they're like, yeah, no doubt, I'd love to have a team of six-figure coaches in here, but I don't even make three figures. So how am I going to see any figures left over for their figures? And this is where it all falls apart, because a team they're not a dependent. They're not a liability. They're an asset. And when created and developed, they're not dependent on you. It's not your job to write their paycheck and make their paycheck and make their hours and make their schedule. It is their job to take ownership and move the needle forward and drive the whole mission, the vision, and the cause forward. But absent of that mission, that vision, and those causes, right, they don't know what to do. And so the first big problem that exists is essentially kind of like Chuck just said, like, you didn't hire them right. Probably 99.99% of everybody that works in an affiliate is like, hey, I know you like to do the 5:30 a.m. class. I know you took your L1. Would you like to coach the 5:30 a.m. class? All right, like that's how you end up with your 5:30 a.m. coach. And then that person lives on their own island. So they weren't hired correctly. And then inevitably they end up with problems. Then there's the other side of it where you're like, okay, I need more coaches. I don't know where to find more coaches. So you go out and search for more coaches. And instinctively, logically, you go searching for coach things, looking for a good coach, best coach, looking to work in a high energy atmosphere, doing coach things for coach people, right? Like that makes a lot of sense. And at that point, you've already failed because you didn't hire them for the why. This is actually the post that will come out on Saturday, but you have to hire them for the mission, right? And so you've got to know what they're coming in for, right? Like your goal as a leader is simply, or your responsibility as a leader is in your ability to find good who's for the how, to build your leadership team, right? And so It's not your job to hire skilled people and motivate them, which is what most CrossFit affiliate owners think they need to do. It's your job to find motivated people and then inspire them. But if you don't motivate them towards the mission and the vision, they're going to be motivated to go find another job. And then it's over. And then everybody's like, see, told you staff sucks. Because once it happens one time and one person goes out the door, or one person basically doesn't give you a 2-week notice and they just call in and they just never come in again, you're like, I hate employees. It wasn't the employee's fault. It was your fault. But that requires responsibility that you don't often want to take yourself. End rant.
No, I think they're really valid points. And I think, sometimes as an affiliate owner too, we get caught in the trap of not wanting to share information or not knowing how to share the business information, the metrics, because you don't want to look like you're failing or you don't know what you're doing to someone who looks to you for leadership and direction.
Mm-hmm.
What a crazy fucking trap of ownership and entrepreneurship, right? Because you're like, I don't want to show it to them if we're failing, but I also don't want to show it to them if we're winning. So, fuck me, right?
Well, I think a lot of affiliate owners are scared of coaches who do the coach math of going, they've got 100 people paying this. I'm going to be rich if I open my own affiliate, and they're going to move and open an affiliate and steal half your members. That's still a fear of a lot of affiliate owners that I speak to who, so they're like, if they know all the information, they can go and do that and do it better than me. It's like, well, then
who cares if they do?
Like, that's the perception, but like, isn't that the safeguard? Because like, if you have no money and you are transparent with them, they're like, oh shit, she's better than me at this and she works harder than me at this and she's got no money. I'm definitely not going to go and do this. And then if you sit on the inverse and it actually is like really financially viable and successful and like thriving, they're like, man, I don't think I could do a whole lot better than this. It's probably way better to be a part of this thing that's already winning than go and have to compete against it.
It's almost a little case of, do better when you know better and not operating from that place of scarcity and fear, which can quite often happen.
Yeah.
Insecurity drives a lot of the decisions, and we know that.
It's stuff that none of us ever thought about as problems that there would be to solve when it was still just a dream, some dollars in the bank, and like no wet ink on a lease.
Yeah.
You don't even think that far into the future.
So when affiliate owners make the decision or decide that, they want to be better with their team or help their team, how do they, go about engaging their team in their mission and their why and helping them understand what's important to have them involved at this level rather than just, I just want to turn up and coach, dude. That's all I want to be here for.
Well, telling them is the first
Because isn't that what they're already doing, and isn't it already not working?
Yeah. Sorry, Tony?
I said telling them is the first problem, right? I mean, we end up in this self-fulfilling prophecy where you have tried to tell them what to do, told them how to do it, given them the job descriptions, the roles, and the responsibility, and inevitably they don't do it, right? Or else they don't do it that well. And then you end up with that narrative of like, no one's ever going to care like me, and all these other things that we know to be some degree of the truth or otherwise, right? But it's just like training, right? So if we step away from paychecks and payroll and employees and these were your clients, how would you move them forward, right? And the first big question is that you've got to figure out where they want to go. And I think this is the part that's absent of the attention of a lot of business owners, not affiliate owners, but business owners in general, is that humans, although are in search of a job from you, they have their own purpose, right? They're after something individually in their own life, and they have chosen to see that what you offer in terms of potential employment is the key to their masterpiece. They're missing sort of whatever it is, maybe that's money, maybe that's fulfillment, maybe that is whatever that is. There's something about this opportunity that's present to them inside your business that has led them to be like, I would like to do this job. No different than when a client comes in and they have chosen you to be a part of their fitness journey. And so that's the first part of it. What I see more often than not from most of the clients and most of the people who struggle with this is that they have visions. The gym owner, the business has vision. It has goals, sort of, to some degree. It has an idea of what it would like to achieve, and it needs those people to help them achieve it, right? You need the team to do it. So logically, you set out communicating those goals to those people and then telling them how we're going to get there and what you need them to do to help you get there. Seems completely obvious. The problem is, as soon as you tell them to do that, they're going to do as little work as possible, right? Because that's just human nature. It doesn't make them a bad person because they don't really have any ownership. They have no agency over it. Adversely, if you knew where the goal was, and then if I asked you, if you were my employee, if I asked you how you would like to get there and how you could contribute to that or how you could see that coming to fruition, at that point, you now have ownership of that goal to some degree. You have agency. You feel heard, you feel seen, and then anything that you contribute to that goal, that mission, is rewarding. It's fulfilling. And that is the fundamental beginning part of it that needs to happen. Coaches or gym owners need to do a better job of helping their staff see their place in the future, not just telling them what their job is.
Yeah, I mean, it's I've had more of those conversations since I've been working with you guys, clearly, with coaches, and it's an empowering conversation to have both ways, for you as a leader and an owner, and them as the coach, and they go, oh, you don't just care if I'm teaching the squat correctly.
So every gym owner that I know of usually finds himself in possession of this unique problem where they're like, I got into this to be the best coach that I could ever possibly be. And so I poured everything of my soul, including my savings, into pursuing being the best coach that I could possibly be. Level 1s, 2s, 3s, SMEs, etc. All these things. And then you find yourself, unironically, but ironically in their situation, no longer coaching. Right? You're like, shit, like now I have coaches, they have to coach the classes. And you realize that, all that stuff that I did was in the development of the dream and the vision, but like, I don't get to use it anymore. And then they end up frustrated. They're like, I wanted to be a coach. I didn't want to be a gym owner. And then they start in this sort of thing, but they don't understand that it's still coaching. And I think this is the part, and if you've been around at all, you've heard us say it, and that is that training is physical and coaching is behavioral. A lot of gym owners would consider themselves coaches, but in actuality, they're trainers. Maybe not with their clients. They probably do a great job affecting the positive behavioral outcomes of their clients, but they find themselves as trainers with their staff, right? And so if everybody thinks back to like when they took their L1, they come back and they're so excited to get in front of the first group of humans or single human that they can get in front of, and they're going to word vomit the 9 foundational movements all over the face of the first person that's going to listen, right?
Yeah.
they give them the best at the cues and the commands and everything, and they find themselves very frustratingly absent of any degree of communication, right? They're just like, well, that didn't work the way I thought it was going to work. But you evolve. You become a better trainer until eventually, many, many years later, you realize that it was never about training at all. It was about coaching. And the difference is the coaching is understanding. So they get it. They understand how to do that. And like, that's what makes every gym owner so really like uniquely good at what they do on the floor. And then their coaches have to live through that same life cycle. Right? They become trainers, and then one day they become coaches. And so that's the first universal frustration of the gym owners, that they're like, why aren't they like me? And I think it's because a lot of people don't understand the difference between coaching and training, right? It starts there. But where this really matters, and the point of this conversation is that as they move into gym owner space and they start doing more owner type shit, right? And they find themselves doing less coach type shit, they spend more time in the office and they have to have meetings and conversations and stuff like that. That doesn't seem like 9 foundational movements and burpees and thrusters. It seems more like, performance reviews and, critiques and things of that nature. They find themselves becoming a trainer again, right? You end up as that person and you start talking at them, telling them what to do, telling them how to do it, telling. And just like in the beginning, when you learned how to teach the 9 foundational movements, you opened your mouth and all sorts of words fall out, but nothing effective happens to the person receiving it, right? But when on the floor, the thing that changed was that you, instead of telling them what to do, you took the time to understand what they were struggling with and then chose the tools to use it. The same thing happens when you start developing your coaches. And the next thing after helping them set their goals and their dreams is that you have to help them define and see their purpose in it. And that's purely coaching. That's it, right? Like the point of coaching is to pull potential out of anybody you come in contact with. For that reason, coaching never ends. It is always a part of the conversation, right? And anybody who is a coach is annoyingly so to anybody else who's around them, because like everybody in your personal life is kind of screwed because you're just always like, well, Chuck, why is that a problem for you? Right? And he's like, all right, don't do that right now. Like, I just want to vent, and becomes a thing. So they have the solution to the problem. They just need to understand that coaching their employees is the same thing they need to do with coaching with their clients, and pulling that purpose from them, pulling that passion from them is your job. And so coach or gym owners find themselves frustrated because I'm the gym owner. I don't coach classes anymore. Right. Because you've excelled. You're now at the next level. As the gym owner, you're still coaching, but you coach the people who do the coaching. And at that point, usually is when most of the clients are like, oh, so I am a coach. I'm like, yes, your ego is still intact. You're still valuable. You're still a person. You're still making the world better than you found it. You're not some asshole boss, right? Like you have to pull potential from your clients, not talk at them, aka your employees.
And like the hilarity is, I think for most gym owners early in the game when they're coaching, the dream for them is to get into like coaching on seminar staff so that they have the ability to coach coaches. And you're like, well, here's the thing. You have coaches you could coach right now. You realize that. And they're like, I don't like that answer.
I feel vulnerable.
It doesn't seem as glamorous and sexy as being seminar staff.
Well, and like that's how you understand like the ego trap of it. And like that's the litmus test, because when you present somebody with that and you're like, so you want to coach on seminar staff because you want to coach at a higher level, have more impact, solve higher level problems, and get better at the craft. Okay, well, why not just do it with the people that you have right in front of you right now that impact the thing that actually like is your baby? And like that answer, like it's not as cool, it's not as glamorous, it's not as sexy, it's not an airplane, it's not a hotel, it's not a red shirt, and you're like, oh, so those are actually the things that you care about, not actually coaching coaches. And that's okay, but like you at least need to be honest with yourself about that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the mind. I know when I went through a phase of being on the floor less, it's I think we had that very same conversation about, you're still coaching, but you just got to develop the people.
It's an identity crisis. That's all it is. Everybody's like, "Whoa, who am I? What do I do with my hands now?"
Yeah,
same thing you did before.
So, what are some? Sorry, Chuck, you go.
I'll be quick, but I do think that like there's an interesting mindfuck piece of like that ego and that validation, because the reward structure changes. And when you are the owner who happens to be coaching clients and you're a part of those wins, it becomes self-sustaining. There's little dopamine hits like, I did a good thing, I helped somebody else do a good thing, I'm a good thing. When you coach coaches, you make them excel at their craft, but then they go and do even better with the clients, and the reward structure exists for them. And it's difficult to conceptualize for like our little monkey brains that like that's still your win. Your ego just has to step out of it. Like you didn't get the gold star, but the gold star is a better gold star because you helped that gold star come to exist.
Yep. So you still, whether it's teaching somebody to PR their back squat or actually helping a coach progress, it's still that same. That's what you're doing.
Oh yeah,
It's still getting the win.
that was
Yeah.
a really difficult piece for me. Like when we had finally gotten the gym like fairly staffed out, and I was like, man, I'm not a part of any of these wins. Like everybody's going to like Ben and Jacob and Kathy's classes, and they're getting all these PRs, and like, oh, I'm not a part of that. And it's like, no, stupid. Nobody would have any PRs if you didn't do the thing that made all of this exist and put fucking who's in the hows in the first place.
Yep. And make sure that the who's were the right fit for that how and moving in the right direction that you want them to.
Yeah.
Or need them to. What are some quick, if I'm an affiliate owner listening to this today or watching this and I go, okay, well, yeah, my team is full of me telling them what to do and picking them up on, the little things. What's something that they can change today to start to, make their team healthier, for want of a better term, just by taking some actions that they can today, like something simple that they can. It's not simple; it's a hard process. But what's if you're looking at the hierarchy of needs for okay, what's going to have the biggest impact on my team? Where do I start?
Share the numbers. The single biggest piece of impact, I think, for most people is to see what they're actually contributing to. And respectfully, I get it. There's a lot of insecurity there. Nobody wants to be found a fraud, right? They don't want to be insecure, and they're afraid that, like, if anybody knew just how feeble this thing was, they're probably going to run for the hills. Or if they're the right people and they're your people and they've chosen your culture, they're going to pick up the shovel. Right. And so one of the easiest things to do right out the gate is share the thing you're afraid of sharing. Let them see the numbers. Let them see how their decisions, actions, and in their employment benefits or hurts that, and let them see how they can help. The ones who you need to keep will rise to the occasion. The other ones will see that they need to run for the hills, and that tells you everything you need to know about, are they there for the right reason, aka for your cause and your mission, or are they there for their own? It's terrifying reality, though. Everybody's like, I don't want them to see those numbers. I'm not saying you got to open up your bank account, but you can put together the scorecard. You can put together the growth trajectory. You can put together your attrition and your growth numbers to let them see that, like, growing is good. Losing one person hurts way more than growing by 5 people, right? Like, let them know that, like, despite there being a whole bunch of new people in this month, there's not a windfall of cash. In fact, it's just paying back the last 4 months where everything was upside down. But having access to a scorecard and having access to those objective metrics are the same reasons why humans invest in fitness, right? Being able to be observable, identifiable, repeatable, and improvable is what motivates us to keep coming back to these micro trauma suffering events called WODs. The same thing happens in employment.
I know that when I sent one of my team members through your Power and Numbers program, and then he became aware and understood the numbers because I hadn't previously shared it. It was a really uncomfortable feeling at first when he's saying to me, well, what's happening to these leads that came in? Like, what did we do with them? And someone, as an affiliate owner, you don't really have anyone challenging you on, unless you've got a mentor or a coach that you work with, but there's no one really challenging you on why something's happening or why a number is what it is. And you're like, where do you store this? And you're like, it's over here. So you can see this.
Yeah.
And
even in mentor relationships, in 99% of the cases, there's no accountability either, right? There's nobody holding you accountable. They're just telling you what to do, and then they're leaving, right? They're just fly-by coaches. Do this, and then they're out. So having downstream and upstream accountability is a bigger picture solution, but getting that downstream accountability is essentially the easiest thing that they can do in the shortest period of time.
So I'm going to lower the bar because for a lot of people, they're so far potentially in the wrong direction of where they could be and should be relative to the team that the idea of like opening up transactionally to have transparency is a very big first step if we're not even at step one of like, do you talk to your coaches? And that seems absolutely fucking crazy, but like in having, traveled the planet to do the coaching thing, there are enormous number of gyms where the owners and the coaches or the management and the coaches have very, very little interaction. It's like, hey, what's your availability? Okay, cool. I will assume those classes are covered. You know when paychecks come in, and like that's really it. So like step one, make sure there's some type of relationship and some communication that exists between like the decision maker and the person doing the thing. If that is a go, then in those conversations I would ask, what do we do here? If they can answer that correctly, then cool, why does that matter?
Mm. And it's having conversations that are more than just, hey, you didn't clean up the gym after your last class. It's having the more productive conversations.
Yeah,
it's asking
well,
them,
and
hey,
just,
why couldn't you
honestly,
clean that?
because most gym owners don't really even know what business they're in or what game they're playing. So how could you ever hope to have staff and employees and coaches that really understand like the magnitude of the thing?
Mm. Particularly when they're only being permitted to look at it through a small scope rather than sit back and understand all the pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah, or even just like, hey, like what do you do here? Oh, I coach classes. You do coach classes, but that's not what you do. You save and change lives. You give people relationships back. You save people from all kinds of like very dark pieces of their own life in the world. That's what you do. You just happen to do it through coaching a class. And reframing that is generally enough for the right people to get them to like, start appreciating it in a different sense and creating a more symbiotic relationship where both like the ownership and the staff want to lean into reinforcing and building their relationships with one another because they understand that like they're a part of something bigger. And then relative to, and then the next step be like, okay, you understand what we're doing, you understand why it matters, you want to be a part of something bigger. Here's where we're at, here's the score. And
Yep.
nobody wants to be on a losing team. And so at that point, they will self-select that either they don't want to be a part of a losing team and they don't want to do anything about making it better. So like, hey, dude, like it's going to be best for everybody involved if like we go ahead and terminate the relationship. But like you found with Colin was like, hey, we're not on the winning team, but this is the team that I'm on, and fuck it. If I'm going to be on the team, I want this team to win.
Yep. Yeah, that was very much it.
And, for most coaches, like, do they know what it actually even looks like for the gym to win? And then do they know how to correlate that to like that 1 hour of class?
Yeah, I mean, it was a powerful thing the day that I can't even remember what it was now that I said to Colin something and he dragged me out to look at my own whiteboard. He said, is doing that part of getting to this number? No, then we're not, then don't do that. Like that's what we're focusing on. And I was like, wow, that was okay. And yeah, if people
downstream accountability is a bitch when you got some like some class coach that's like, hey, that thing that you're doing? It's real dumb, right?
Yeah, that's not what we're setting out to do here. So yeah, once you have that experience, you want to have that with all your coaches. You want to have that same level of engagement. It's a powerful thing when you get it, and then you don't want to go back to how it was for sure.
I mean, sometimes you want to go back because you're like, leave me alone. But I mean, I think every owner would agree that like being surrounded by people who ask them questions of betterment like that would be fantastic instead of like having coming into notes on your desk telling you that the rower's batteries are dead again. You need to change them.
Yeah.
It's a very different reality. And the only thing that changes is disclosure and in discourse, right? Like having conversations, sometimes uncomfortable, but always ultimately for the better, is the thing that separates them between becoming bonded and them leaving.
Yep. Fantastic. Any last thoughts, guys, before we wrap up this episode?
No, just change the way you look at your people. I mean, they're going to be the solution to your problem. You can only do so much by yourself. So inevitability is that you're going to need a team. So it's not a matter of how you're going to do it without them. It's a matter of why you don't have the team to do it with them.
Yeah, the team advances the mission and the cause, and that's for sure a thing that like not as like a consult kind of setup, but just our offer for people that like really are in this for the right reasons. If they want to book a call just to chat through like a specific problem and mutually work to find a real solution, like happy to do that because that's where we get to do the impact thing. Being able to rectify a team, man, that's a lot of good work done in the world.
Yeah, absolutely, and help people have better relationships. It's a powerful thing.
Yeah. Well,
that's a good note. All right, guys, thanks for the chat today, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye.
Adios, humans.